Good to see you again. Happy
Hey,
Thursday, girl.
how you doing, Dr. Prince? What's going on?
Oh, I'm doing well. I'm doing spicy today. So
Oh, you
as I
spicy. Why
shared,
are you spicy?
well, I'm here in Texas, and we like to put tahini on everything. So it could be
Yeah.
dessert, it could be breakfast, it could be your pizza, it could be your beverage that you're having for the day. Tahini goes on everything, don't you know?
See, okay, tahini. It's okay. I prefer sriracha. I like the heat, but I prefer some jerk sauce and some sriracha.
Yeah, it's a thing here in
It is a
Austin,
thing. It
Texas.
is. Yes, yes, yes,
It's
yes.
such a beauty to be with you, and we have a lot of really spicy, good topics to talk
You
about today.
do.
Um, one of the things that Dr. Helm and I agree that we're going to have a topic that's centered around sexual health or sexual education. So we're definitely going to talk about withdrawal of sex as punishment. We're going to talk about that. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure everyone has been in a situation like that before, so it should identify with a lot of folks. Then we're going to talk about some of the politics of today. Earlier this week, we had a big election. We had our first Muslim mayor elected to office in the city of New York. And so I want to talk about that. We also want to talk about a video that Dr. Helm shared with me, which I thought was really inspiring, talking
Hmm.
about beauty at every size, because I think it's something we need to talk about. And
For
then we
sure.
have our side eye for today. Two topics. One has to do with the limiting of refugees to the U.S. by Trump to 7,500 people. But on top of that, providing preferential treatment to white Afrikaners or white South Africans. The
Hmm.
other thing we wanted to throw in there, and this happened, I think, earlier this week, was the groping. You hear
Oh my
me?
God.
The groping of the president of Mexico by some
Hmm.
drunk dude, and we'll get into it. But that's our side eye for today. So, which one do you
Definitely.
want to get started? You want to talk about the election stuff, or you want to go straight to the withdrawing sex?
Well, are we doing a card first? Or are we
Oh
going
my,
right into it?
Dr. Helm, thank you for. I'm over here,
You
studying
ready?
other
You're ready
stuff,
to get into
and I
our
need to
topic.
be up on my business. So thank you, Dr. Helm, for the reminder. I totally forgot. We're gonna be here. We go. Here we go. Here we go. Trying to do one that we haven't done recently. Here we go. These days, being engaged. These days, being engaged means blank.
These days, being engaged means blank. I always think that, okay, being engaged means being emotionally available, right? And ready to kind of give and receive, right? But if we're looking at in the sort of today's context of constant news cycles and all that stuff, being engaged to the extent of which you can handle, right? So you're not buried by all of the negativity of the news. So engage enough, whether it's reading, if we're talking about the news, right? Reading the news, I can read it, I can't always watch it, right? So being engaged enough where you're informed, and then for God's sake, disengage for your own mental health. So I
Oh,
have two definitions of engagement: engagement in relationships and engagement with the news.
well, it's funny you say that because being engaged for me right now is difficult because I think, and I think you said this or hinted at it, it requires a certain level of vulnerability. And
Mm,
I've had to be a bit selective sometimes about who I feel like I want to be vulnerable with because,
mhm.
there's your work setting, there's your personal life, there's for me, my dating life, my social life. And so you're trying to figure out, how much of this do I really, when I don't, when's keeping it real go bad, so it goes wrong.
A whole hell of a lot. It depends on who you're real with.
And so for me, it does mean being vulnerable, but also being selective. Not because I'm hiding myself. It's just asking how deep in this pool do I want to dip my big toe.
Yeah,
And sometimes I just don't want to, and sometimes I'm like sometimes I actually really need to. As
yeah,
reflected, I kind of hadn't told a lot of people about my grandmother passing, but as I've talked about it and kind of, dipped into it more and, had some time for myself to reflect upon it, it was important. But they also, I had to make an agreement with myself to be okay and vulnerable with it. So
yeah.
staying engaged or being engaged definitely is that. So thank
Yeah.
you for reminding us about doing the first card. All
Yeah,
right.
you can't be engaged with everybody. Everybody doesn't deserve your engagement. So,
Amen to that. You don't
mhm.
deserve it.
You don't
Cool.
deserve me.
So back to our earlier question of you want to go to the political stuff or you want to go to the withdrawing sex?
I'll let you pick first.
Okay, let's do about Zoran Mandami, who is the first Muslim mayor of the largest city in the United States, New York City. And
Yep.
I'll be honest, I was excited about his one. I was pretty confident he was going to win because the previous governor of New York was running against him as an independent, and then there was a former Green Beret, not Red Beret, who was running as a Republican, and he smashed them both. And
Mhm.
what I loved about his campaign is it reminded me of two other people who you're probably familiar with. Sorry, is Harold Washington, who was the former mayor of Chicago, and
Yes,
Barack
yes.
Obama, who also is out of Chicago technically. Uh,
Yeah.
what they share in common with Mandami, or he shares with them, is this coalition building, where you're bringing
Mhm.
people from all walks of life, people who typically may disagree on a number of issues, whether it be the Jewish community, the LGBTQ community, the Black community, the Muslim community, different faith communities coming together, saying enough is enough, and getting behind real things, not just kind of kumbaya hope kind of stuff, but like
Yeah.
reducing rent, affordability issues, the things that I think across this country people are really concerned about and trying to figure out what to do about it. And the other thing he brought to it, I think, was a certain authenticity and
Yeah.
congruence, which is
Yeah.
super important. I think because again, regardless of your politic, you want someone who's going to reflect the values that are important to you and that you prioritize, but also is authentic in their presentation. And so I
Yeah.
was super excited. Again, forget whether you agree with him or not, it's the
Yeah.
authenticity that I really enjoyed
Sure.
watching through that
Yeah.
process. I don't know if
And
your thoughts.
the energy he brings. And here's the other thing, right? Why are we just now having our first Muslim mayor in 2025? Right? I think we might be rare in that we do really believe that there is a seat at the table for everybody and
Hmm.
representation really does matter. And
Hmm.
so how wonderful, yay, New York for you,
Hmm.
right? And, it'll be exciting to see what he brings.
It will be. I mean, because I think there's always the talk, right? But then how you get the follow through. Obama dealt
Yeah.
with that. I imagine Harold Washington dealt with that. But with both of them, if using examples, it was really important that they followed through on the
Yes.
promises they made to maintain the relationships they had with people. And I think that
Yep.
coalition building, that making those connections and not letting our religious or political or other issues that we're concerned to divide us. Because the truth is, and I think I'm probably really on this issue because I've been reading a lot about how most of us actually agree on a lot of different topics, but
Mhm.
we disagree on how we prioritize them. And so we
Yeah.
are able to find people to find that commonality and get behind something and
Yep.
really kind of step into I think who we are as a community and meet the needs. And so I'll give you an example. All this stuff with Snap, and you have people who are very critical of Snap and these handouts, instead of thinking of it as a handout, thinking of it as an investment in our future, is paying it forward. Because
How
my
is
family had to
giving
deal with
people
it,
who
you
can't
know.
afford food a handout? Are you serious? Like, come on. I mean, when we talk about handouts, honestly, not to go too far down this topic, but
Hmm.
what sort of socioeconomic status or class you are is often an accident of birth,
Mm.
right? Some people are luckily born into middle class, upper middle class, and some people are not, right?
Hmm.
Anybody at
Hmm.
any time can be down on their luck. And so I don't know, how dare you label somebody who needs food a handout when that could be any natural disaster? Like, I'm in
Hmm.
Tornado Alley here, whip through
Hmm.
here, you could need a handout. Your house could burn down, right? If you were lucky enough to have a house in the first place. So that just burns me. It
Yeah,
burns me. It
it
really
does
does.
not. And you're right, because any natural
Everybody should be able to
disaster,
eat, y'all.
yes,
Everyone should
yes.
be able to eat.
And we're
Healthy,
talking about
nutritious
40.
food.
We're talking about 42 million people who are on assistance, and those are the people who are on
Yes.
assistance today. It doesn't. And when they did some research. They said 2/3 of Americans know someone who's on public assistance, someone that they know personally, not some just
Yeah.
pie in the sky kind of thing. And when you look at the numbers, over 70, I think it's 75, 71% of people across the no, actually, yeah, 71% across the political spectrum agree that SNAP and other programs are necessary
Yeah,
and should be
yeah,
funded at a higher amount. I think it's
yeah,
84% of progressives, 64% of like Republicans. So again, it goes against this notion that people are against it. But unfortunately, because people's perceptions, there's a lot of shame. I know I
yeah.
still experience, those pangs of like, oh, I remember what that was like. But it's hard to get past it when you think people are judging you or you have experiences of people judging
Mhm,
you. You know what I'm saying?
mhm.
It's kind of difficult.
Yeah. And how dare we judge people for trying to eat and make a living?
Can
Really?
I eat, please?
Yeah,
Can I
I
eat?
can't. You know I cannot. That's
Well,
not
and all that nonsense, and we'll move on in a minute. But it's like that nonsense with the welfare queen that came out of the '60s, Moynihan, if you're old enough to remember that
Oh,
fool.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Talk about the Monahan Report and the welfare queen, stereotype, pervaded the Reagan era, if I'm correct.
Oh, that was his dog whistle
Yep.
that he used to talk about black
Somebody
people.
on welfare and the pink Cadillac he used to talk about and all that. I can listen.
Oof, memories,
Woo-wee. Woo-wee. And not good
memories.
ones. Not good ones. Not good ones. Not good
No,
ones.
not at all. I'm pretty sure Barbara Streisand wasn't talking about that when she sang that song. Well,
You
let's
mean
talk
Aretha
about.
Franklin.
I'm sorry.
Aretha Franklin, pink Cadillac.
Oh, I was thinking of memories.
Oh, okay, 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 okay.
Pink Cadillac.
Pink Cadillac.
All right, so let's get to withdrawal of sex as punishment. I think this is a hot topic.
Okay, so this is our sex topic for the day, right? And sometimes, like, uh, I always caution my couples, okay, to be careful about using sex to gain rewards or to punish, right? So if you think about it, and at least sex in a long-term committed relationship is supposed to represent, it can be whatever the two people want it to be, but it's supposed to represent kind of a continuation of the emotional connection that the couple has, right? And when we begin to barter with sex, like, you back in that floor, you might get some. You don't do your chores, you're not gonna get any, right? You know, Unfortunately,
You don't
that
do your
sort of
chores.
yeah, if you don't do your chores, if you're not a good boy, you're not gonna get any. Well, that is a huge problem, right? It's a huge problem, like bartering with sex or using it to, punish, right? Because once you have that into your relationship, it's very hard to take it out. And what are you
Mm-hmm.
saying? That sex is a
Mm-hmm.
tool to barter with as a form instead of as a form to kinda get close to your partner? And once that's
Mm-hmm.
in there, you're doing some damage, and not in a good way either.
But I love how you bring up both sides of this, or if there's sides, it's not just the punishing, it's the
Yes,
rewarding, right? It's like
correct.
it's almost like with children where you reward them if they eat their vegetables, and
Right.
then it's like this whole bartering system we would get into, but and the thing is, this is the challenge. It's so common. I feel like I don't think I've ever been in a situation where that didn't come up as a theme, passively
Oh,
or actively,
yeah.
where it's like, well, because you did this, I'm gonna give you that. It's this,
Yeah.
it's an on kind of, and I'll be honest, there's sometimes I was like, kind of ignore it, and other times like, wait, hold up, what are we doing here?
Yeah. Well, it introduces, like, there can be in relationships all these kind of things, power and control surrounding sex, right? So you don't want to introduce those dynamics in your relationship because
Hmm.
once you put that in there, at least around sex, so does it cheapen sex, right? This can predict sexual dysfunction later
Hmm.
on, like if sex is used to barter with, to reward or
Hmm.
punish, right? So
Hmm.
you really don't wanna do that. That's not what it's supposed to be. Now, I work with a lot of couples, so I'm like, whatever y'all decide is whatever y'all decide. As long as it's consensual, I'm not getting in that. You both happy
Right.
with that? Fine. But, what happens is it's real cute in the beginning, and then afterwards, it changes the nature of what sex means to the couple in ways that can be potentially damaging. And so I strongly recommend against using sex to barter or to punish or to reward, right? Because then you lose something precious that you can't get back, at least in a long-term relationship. And it's sort of like this too. If it's like, okay, we go out on a date, right? And you buy me dinner, do you have the expectation of sex? Right? If so, it's I'll buy you dinner for sex, right? And a lot of times
Yes.
people have a problem with that. And you should, because just because you buy someone dinner does not entitle you to sex. But when you move that kind of mindset into a relationship, that's what you're doing.
And see, now you're bringing up a really great example, and as you
Yeah,
know, been in the dating life for some time, and that is a theme that comes up
yeah,
consistently, where it's like, matter of fact, I've had to have a conversation and say, look, because we get to the point where it's time to pay, right?
yeah,
And I've had this conversation more than once where they're like, well, I want you to think because you paying, we gonna get some of
yeah,
this nookie. And I'm like, first of all, that's not even on my mind. I'm paying because that's what I kind of do. Maybe it's sexist, but I don't think you shouldn't pay. I'm just saying I'm
yeah,
willing to
yeah,
pay, and but if you wanted to go, splitsies, I'm cool with that too.
yeah.
But there is this theme that's in there, and for
Well, because
me,
a
it's
lot of men do. A lot of men are like,
yes,
"We're out about you dinner, so it's time," and that is
but
awful. That's
but
awful.
there's
Someone's supposed to give you her body because you bought her a cheeseburger. Get out of here.
But I'll be honest. There's not been many, and maybe it's because I'm getting older. But there's been a few women who have been like, "Well, you treat me real good tonight, and you bought me some really great drinks, and you about to get some." Now, did I say no? No.
You said,
I
I
didn't
mean,
like protest.
in theory, I
Excuse
didn't
me.
appreciate it, but
Excuse me. I cannot
you
accept
said
this, Nookie, because it's part of a transactional relationship, and I do not want that.
you said,
I
I
said,
mean, I wish you
okay.
wouldn't have added the transaction, but, you offered, so
I mean, you put the dessert on the plate. All I need is to use a spoon or a fork.
okay.
However, that's
That's your
short
thing.
term, right? That's short term. Long term, I really want that relationship to be intimate. I want to feel a connection. I remember the first time I dated a woman one time, and we were having some challenges, and she says, we were getting all lovey-dovey and stuff, and she's like, I really don't want to do anything because I don't feel really connected to you. And I remember my initial reaction was, I'm being rejected. I was disappointed. But then I was like, thank you, because I don't want to go through the motions, and then I'm noticing there's a different kind of connection going on, and then afterwards, I'm not feeling it, you're not feeling it, because there isn't the intimacy that we're
So
actually
wait, you're
wanting in that
saying she
moment.
didn't wanna have sex with you to mess up the connection with you?
Say again.
You're saying she didn't wanna have sex with you because she's like, "I feel connected to you. If we have sex, it'll mess up the connection?"
No, we had some difficulties, and we were, and so because we were having some disagreements, she wasn't
Yes,
feeling as deeply connected to me at that particular moment, and
got
so
you.
it was
Okay.
better for us not. But again, there's some women that regardless of how of things are good or not, if they're talking or not, they'll go through the motions,
Yes.
and sex ends up being kind of again transactional. It feels void of
Yeah.
anything meaningful, and for
Yeah.
me as a in the relationship I've ever had, that would be like taboo
Yeah.
because it's a very intimate, vulnerable space to be in for some people.
Well,
Uh,
it is for some people, and it depends on what you're looking for, right? It depends, and is this a casual sex, right?
hmm
Is it
hmm
sex in a committed relationship? Is it, and as long as two people are in agreement about what it is,
True.
and you grown, do what you do, right? Do what you do. But there are ways to introduce damaging themes around sex and
hmm
patterns around sex that can last the life of the relationship or take something that was good and spoil it. So we have to
Yes.
be really very, very careful about, first of all, not again, I'm going down a rabbit hole, but first of all, we follow gendered scripts. Straight couples
hmm
often follow these ridiculous scripts that we're socialized into. We're trained into, like, men do this, women do this, men pay, women do. And what it does is it doesn't allow people freedom to
hmm
make their own decisions,
hmm
right? And
hmm
we talked last week about how people don't necessarily ask for sex. People aren't good about communicating their sexual needs,
hmm
having conversations about it, right? And so we make it cutesy, like, oh, if you empty the dishwasher, I'm gonna give you this. Oh, you've been a bad boy, I'm gonna take it away. Like, these are all things that are not good things, and they don't bode your relationship well. So don't do them. How about that? Don't do them.
And I guess what you're making me think about is that, there's the role playing that people do to bring spice to their relationships. And I think we can be in agreement that one, if it's something you're agreeing to mutually,
Yeah,
it's a whole nother thing.
don't
If it's
pull your
part of
ass
some
off.
right, if it's some kind of game that you're playing to bring something to the relationship, but
Yeah,
I think what we're talking about is foundationally in a long term
yes,
relationship, it can create challenges for you if you're
yes,
punishing or rewarding people with sex. It
correct.
just sets a foundation that can be problematic, and probably, and I don't know. You tell me if this makes sense to you. I've always been a person who pays attention to who does all the driving in a relationship.
Right.
Meaning, because I mean, literally, who's driving the car, because that creates a dynamic as far as sometimes power and control.
Yep,
If you're always kind of looking to the him or her to do all the driving, what does that mean in your relationship? Because oftentimes the driving situation is a reflection of the relationship as a whole. Because let's say he does all the driving, but the whole time you're giving him instructions about what left and right to take, and fussing at him how he fast or slow he's going. I mean, again, stereotypically, they're oftentimes reflected in the other aspects of the relationship. And so I
sure,
would
sure.
say the punishment reward kind of thing in the bedroom probably is reflected in other aspects of the relationship as
Yeah.
well. I don't know. That's just a
And
theory I got.
should sex really be about punishing or rewarding as opposed to not to sound all like a Care Bear, but sharing and caring? I mean,
Right.
honestly.
Now, one more thing I'll say before we move on to the next topic. Now it makes me think about the folks who are into the BDSM community, where that's a
Yeah,
whole nother world. And I feel
it
like,
is.
but even there, there's still intimacy and vulnerability. I think for
Well,
the
there's an
outside, it looks
agreement.
different.
So usually, like, in those couples, there's an agreement, hopefully, and you're talking about it and it's consensual. And
Hmm.
so, like with sort of sex play, there's this conversation about, good boy, bad boy, whatever, right? Because you're playing a role, right?
Hmm.
And again,
Hmm.
if you wrong and this is what you both want, go forth, right? I
Hmm.
judge not if that's what y'all wants to do, as long as everyone's a consenting adult, right?
Right.
But we're talking about kind of not the kind of, BDSM stuff. We're really talking about sort of couples who use sex to reward and to punish, which accentuates all the other kind of issues that they're having in the relationship if you are punishing someone. It's different though if you get into a fight or you don't feel emotionally connected to your partner or you don't want to and you're like, I don't really want to. Okay, fair. We're not talking
Hmm.
about because you don't want to. We're talking about, well, you didn't do what I wanted, therefore you ain't getting none.
Right.
There's a huge difference. Yeah.
Right. Because now you
Yeah.
make me think about what are all the different things people do to exert control in a relationship: sex, silence, or lack thereof.
Yep.
I mean, all kinds of things, and sex is just one example of how it plays out in relationships. But again, I think you bring up a really great. It's not just the withdrawal; it's the rewarding on the other
Yes,
side
that's
of it.
bad too. Yeah.
So if you
Yeah,
take
and
out
I
the
know some
garbage, I'll give
couples
you some
joke
nookie.
about that, but if you serious about it, I don't know.
I mean, I'm trying to think. I'm like, if I take out the garbage, I'm gonna get me some. I'm gonna take out that garbage.
But what'll happen is you'll become resentful,
Yeah,
right?
because I want you to love me for me, not because I take out the
Yeah.
garbage so well.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
You take out that garbage real good because you get thank you.
Okay. 'Cause you're like, "Now come on, girl. Come
Come
on.
on. Well,
You
cool.
said."
Well, I thought that was really great. Appreciate that. That was really valuable. Let's move on because I think you shared a really powerful video. It was a TikTok video where a woman was talking about, I think she probably would identify as a plus size woman and just her
Mhm.
struggles. But I guess I wanted to ask you, what made you want to talk about that? Because I thought it was a great topic
Yeah,
for
so
us.
I ran across this video. TikTok is my guilty pleasure, so I sometimes scroll on videos, and there was this, African American guy speaking to her, right? So she didn't say much, but of course he was talking about, and especially since we're riffing while Black, right? This is so 2 Black people, right? And he's speaking to her and sort of encouraging her, and he said, "Nobody is hated more than Black women and Black plus size women and Black women who are plus size who have darker complexions, right?
Mm,
And because the standard of beauty doesn't look like Black women, and it doesn't look especially like our gorgeous dark-skinned sisters and our plus size sisters, right?
mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm,
he said, if you are waiting to be affirmed, right? We're just now, he's like, you're just starting to see plus size models with regularity. If you're waiting to be affirmed by the standard of beauty, you will always feel bad. And he really kind of, dug deep, which I really liked. And he was
Hmm.
saying, this makes, many plus sized African American women feel like they don't have a choice in the dating pool. Who they're dating often repeats the stereotypes against the backdrop of the standard of beauty that they are not,
Hmm.
right? And I just thought it was a really important topic to talk about because we have many, many, many gorgeous Black women who need to be celebrated and affirmed. But you can't look to society to do that.
No, you can't wait on them, especially the one that's dominated by a white standard of thin, not very
Yeah.
shapely, straight hair, blah blah blah. I'll tell you the part that popped out for me amongst many was his affirming of people, and I think he was talking about men specifically, who actually really actually prefer women who are larger, who are maybe more
Mhm,
shapely, who
mhm.
um, who maybe are darker skin or not. But the point is that those are also preferred, but they also oftentimes in this culture, particularly Black community, get shamed for it, right?
Yeah,
Oh, you want that big ass girl? She kind of big. Well, she eats a lot. I mean, it's kind of quick to go there real quick. And I'll be honest, I've dated a number of women who are larger size, and I found them quite attractive. And I
yeah,
remember my first experience in high school. I come across this girl who's a little older than me, and I remember looking at her going, she's a little bigger. She's actually pretty thick. She's more than thick. She's a big girl, but the way she carried herself, her confidence. She was wearing this two-piece bathing suit, and she didn't. She acted like nothing mattered. And then what
yeah,
makes me think of is Lizzo.
yeah.
Lizzo, plus size, but her confidence and her demeanor is something that I think a lot of people admire and really
And
love
she's
about her.
beautiful.
Yes,
She's
yes,
gorgeous. Yeah,
yes.
yeah,
And I think that's the missing piece of this equation, at least in our society in general, overall, is not really
yeah,
appreciating how beauty can come in different forms and different ways, and how our society really biases us towards certain, even when
yeah.
inside, we really enjoy that.
Well, here's the other thing, like, a lot of white women don't meet that standard of beauty either, right?
Exactly.
Like, so who is that standard really about and who is it for,
Mm,
right?
mm,
So, I think it's about affirming women, Black women in particular, because they're amazing and not giving into the stereotype and comparisons,
yeah.
right? It's not okay. It's not
No, it's
okay.
not. And like the video was talking about, there is, if you're gonna wait for society to affirm you, then
Yeah,
you're gonna be waiting your whole life and you're never gonna hear anything. But if
yeah,
I think that's where us having these kinds of conversations,
yeah,
us having really honest conversations about what we actually desire, that it's not just this one standard, there's actually multiple standards.
yeah.
I remember having to explain to someone, was a friend of mine. He says, well, what's your type? Because they're trying to be helpful about, hooking me up. I was like, well, I kind of like a little bit of everything. Are you a breast man or a hip man? I said, well, depends on the person, because the
Ain't
same
nobody
qualities.
ever asked a woman, "Well, are you a calf woman or a bicep woman?" See, that's some old bullshit, right? Where we have to objectify her, right?
Yes.
And these things are like, that standard of beauty damages Black women. They hurt. We hurt because we don't necessarily meet that standard. Are you a breast man? I know that exists, but it irritates. It's irritating.
It exists, and it does bring up the question of what do we find attractive. But you are making me think about, in your conversation with women, again, we're kind of focusing on heterosexual, but do you feel like in conversation with women, or maybe with men, there is that objectification of men? Because I've heard only a little bit of it, but it's only been like a little bit. I like a man with big arms
I
and
think
stuff
not to
like
the
that.
same extent. I think
Yeah.
women are viewed in terms of their parts.
Mm,
Right. So, right, men may be viewed in terms of their ability to provide,
hmm.
or, sort of financial strengths, but women are viewed in terms of their parts.
Hmm. Hmm.
Right. And
Hmm.
that's a whole other topic. We're gonna have to
Oh, it is.
we'll bring
It
that
is.
one up the next time. Yeah.
Yeah, but I really love the video, and I'm glad you shared it, because I think he really, I think, went 10 toes deep on this idea of one, like you shared, of
Yeah.
not waiting for society, but secondly, really affirming that some of us are struggling. Not struggling may not be the right word, but we need to be affirming that there's these women who don't meet the so-called standard that I really enjoy and love, and I'm okay with that, even though
Yeah.
other people might question it. But it's important for us to be authentic and congruent with the things that are important to us. So I thought that was really proud. I was really glad that you shared that video. So for doing
Yeah, I
actually
like
doing
that
that,
video.
yeah,
I
it was
liked
good. It
it.
was great. Um, let's see, where are we on time? Oh, cool. We're doing pretty good today. Um, well, let's do an engagement card.
Okay. Okay. I'm getting my side eye ready,
Yeah, I was about
especially
to
for
go straight
the
there, and I was
side
like,
eye.
"Ooh,
Ooh.
wait,
Yeah.
hold back, hold back."
Mm, mm.
All right, this is the one we're gonna do today. Non-traditional partnerships might include blank. Non-traditional relationships might include blank, and I'll do that first.
Okay.
Um, one I was on a date a few months ago, and I don't
Now,
know if we
you know
talked
we
about
could do
this.
a whole podcast on your dating life. We
I
won't
mean,
expose that
I
way, but
might,
we could.
we,
People
I
have
might.
questions.
No, 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 no questions. So this woman asked me. She goes, um, "Can men be friends with women?" And of course,
Uh-huh.
my automatic reaction was, "Of course you can."
Yes.
But she went into this whole like little soliloquy of sorts, talking about how I don't think men can be friends with
Is this
women.
like when Harry met Sally from the '80s? Come on now.
You,
That whole movie was about that. You know what? You should be like, refer back to 1980
I,
or
now
70
you
or
understand how exhausted I was just having the conversation.
uh,
Because then I had to I felt it was almost like I was defending myself. But what I mean by that is this non-traditional. If tradition says men and women can't have relationships that are platonic, kind of like our former Vice President Mike Pence said he can't close doors with women in the same room because he doesn't know if he can trust himself.
yeah.
So it's still present in our society, even if it may be a
Mhm.
minority position. But I feel like it feels almost like a non-traditional relationship because I've had very solid, and your relationship with you is a good example of that. We've known you for years. We share a
Yeah,
profession. We have our family lives experiences. I think all the reasons why being friends is really important, and so there's been countless women I've known who've been great, giving me great advice, whether it be
yeah,
professional advice, relationship advice, friendship advice, or just being a friend, right? Or me and vice versa, right? Hopefully.
yeah,
And so
yeah,
for me, there have been times where I feel like that relationship has felt non-traditional, even though
yeah,
to me it feels like a regular everyday relationship. But I think for some people, we still have in our society that feel like when you go the kind of between men and women, the idea that they can be friends, just basic friends, seems like it's
yeah.
still a struggle for some folks. But that's what I'll speak about.
Well, I agreed. I remember still being in the car with you and Lawrence, another Black male psychologist friend, and I was like, "Kathy, just shut up and listen, because y'all were dropping some knowledge on dating and all this kind of stuff." And I'm gonna add like interracial friendships, right? Interreligious friendships. So people still don't, oftentimes wherever we live around people who look like us or maybe worship in the same places as us. And what I'm like, all that's cool, but sometimes it's a missed opportunity. And so I think that non traditional partnerships teach you things about the world and how other people view it. And I think it's very important. I've been very much enriched by that. I have a lot of female friends and I have a lot of male friends and from all different backgrounds and they teach me a lot.
Yeah, we need those teachers in our lives.
We do. We do.
Did you want to respond to that, or you got some?
I did. That was my response.
Okay, okay, okay. I just want to make sure.
That was
I just
my
want to make
response.
sure.
You didn't
Cool.
did you zone out? Was it not good enough?
No, 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 no. It was great. I just want to make sure I didn't. I just want to make
Yeah.
sure I'm giving your fair time to,
Yes.
if there's something else. Well,
I
let's
am
get to.
chomping at the bit for
Yes,
this one side eye. Can you guess which one it is?
the white South Africans one.
No, not
Oh,
that one.
the other one, the Mexican president. getting groped
Lord,
by some drunk fool
Lord,
on the street.
Lord. This woman is the president of a country,
A
okay?
whole country.
She's a whole country. She is a president, y'all, right? And some drunk man, just like every woman, thought it was okay to roll up on her, put his nasty hands on her body.
Mm.
It was rumored that he groped her breast or whatever.
No,
She's
I
a
saw the
president.
video. He did
Did
this.
you?
Yes, it was because
Okay, and
I didn't, it wasn't that I didn't believe it. I wanted to know what are people talking about. And this little put his arm around her and then did this. I'm like
oh my
from
God.
behind
It
her.
it's so awful, right? And here's the thing, my daughter's 13, and how awful I have to keep having these conversations. I just had a conversation with her. I was like, men are going to start to look at you, right? Here's what you do if you ever get touched. Why do I have to have a conversation? That's her body. That body doesn't belong to anyone but her. And yet we have a president of a nation, right? And she rightly is arresting him. Nobody has the right to put their hands on you without your permission. And he did it,
He
grabbing
did it.
her breast. What the hell?
And the thing is, he apparently had been doing it to other women throughout the day. So apparently, there was more than one report on the same day of his drunken behavior. Now, some people are going to say, well, he was drunk. I don't give a
I
hell.
don't
I don't give a
care.
damn.
Correct. Why is it ever okay for you to put your hands on somebody else's body without their or her permission? Why is that okay?
And it's not okay. And one of my areas of expertise is around alcohol and drugs education and college
Yeah,
students. And so a lot of times people will give people a pass and say, well, it was because he was drunk. I said, no, 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 no. There was something already in his mind that
yeah,
thought that that was okay.
yeah, yeah,
Oh, the
yeah.
difference now is his frontal lobe is cut off from decision making and his impulses are kicking in. He already believes this is okay.
Well, he
That
won't.
man thought it was okay.
Well, yeah, and I think this goes to the broader level of in society, oftentimes, the idea of bodily autonomy. Women don't have it. Right? We don't have it. We are sort of always kind of defending against unwanted stares or, the potential for sexual assault. And he assaulted her, like grabbing her breasts, grabbing any part of her body. This is an intimate experience. It was unwanted. He groped her. It's not okay. She's not just going to be able to brush that off.
No.
So
Well,
it's infuriating.
and the thing is, I watched. I went down the rabbit hole a little bit with her. And there was her initial reaction to it, and then there's her statement that she put out, and she was very, very strongly worded, kind of thing. But in the moment, you know, I'll be honest. The way what I wanted to see was kind of like when Dave Chappelle was in that situation where that guy tried to attack him with some kind of knife, and this whole security came over and they beat his ass. There was a part of me that wanted that, but forgive me for that impulse, but I
Mhm.
just wanted her security to jump in, whoop his ass real quick, arrest him, and then she could be like, "That's messed up." Not because it would justify it or make her feel better, but it seems so out of place because she had to play the part of
Yep.
president.
She
She
did.
couldn't
Yep.
just react and be like,
No.
"Hey, motherfucker, get your hands
Right.
off of me," which is
No,
her
she
normal
can't.
reaction. Don't get me wrong here, but she's the
Mhm.
president, so she has to kind of, I don't know, placate it or smooth it over, or someone had to interact and kind of just. And I was just
Well,
no,
she's reacting to being assaulted. It's so wrong, right? But
it's so wrong.
I won't go so far as to be like, I wish they would have beat his ass. Instead, it's a societal problem that continues. Oh, it's not
Yes.
that big a deal. What, because it happens to so many women, it's not that big a deal? Then I have to tell my daughter it's okay if a man puts his hands on you because boys will be boys. I'm not going to tell her that.
I,
Right? So you're not allowed to own your own body. Anybody can come up to you and put his hands on your body. It's not okay. And why we're perpetuating, and then we blame women. You're overreacting. You're oversensitive. It's not that big a deal. Yes, it is. It's not
and,
okay.
and maybe I'm okay with his getting his ass whooped because
You
it's kind
really
of like
want
if
his
you call
ass.
me nigga, if you call me nigga, you should expect an ass whooping because it's just going to happen. And the reason I'm saying it that way because I think again because of her position, because of society, there's this desire to kind of pull back and be reserved and not just react. And I'm like,
Yeah.
no. people need to stop pretending like this stuff is okay. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, you're making me think about my daughter, think about my cousins,
Yes.
and having to deal with all this nonsense. It should be understood. This is the reaction you're going to get.
Well, and
Um,
it's traumatic, and of course, it's trauma. It's trauma when people come up, and it has happened to so many women, the large majority, almost every single one, and it's just so disheartening. It should never be tolerated. So, my side eye is extra.
major side eye. In just a little bit
Major.
of time we have, I do want to mention the other one real quickly. First of all, our president, maybe he's your president. He's not mine, but
I'm silent at the moment, I'm silent.
he's limited the number of refugees who can come to the United States to 7,500, which is a stark contrast to the 100,000 that were allowed in the country previously each year. So 7,500. And preferences will be given to white South Africans or white South Afrikaners as preference over other refugees.
What are the white South Afrikaners running from?
Apparently, according to your president, he says that they're being oppressed because their land is being taken away from them and hostile conflicts that are happening in South Africa. Now, the president of South Africa, who actually has someone on his cabinet who he ran against for president, both saying none of that's true. Yes, there's
Mhm,
conflict, there's been some violence, but it's not because they're white Afrikaners. It's because of just this conflict that's going on, and they're dealing with it as best they can. And so it's basically a lie. But this is being
mhm,
promoted by Elon Musk and his people and of his ilk, this racist idea that's out there. And
mhm.
so, and I guess what's so surreal about this, Kathy, is that all these racist ideas, whether it's the thing that we're talking about right now, other things that we've been talking about in nauseum over the last several weeks, it's just mind blowing that we're spending any time, any platform that permits this conversation not just to happen, but to happen on such a grand scale. We have the president of the United
Well,
States supporting this idea.
here's what I will say. I will say that it is clear that the administration acts with an alignment with their values.
Mm.
So it
I mean,
explains the decision completely.
yes, and you're right because there is congruence, right? They're not like making stuff up here. I think
Nope.
the problem I have is that I think there's a minority of folks who actually believe in this in truest sense. I think a lot of people are permitting it to happen, kind of saying, well, he's not really going to do that. And then he does it. They kind of
Mhm.
rationalize it. But again, back to our first topic today, I think there's a lot of people who are seeing things like this and this is not aligned with their values. Not at
Right.
all.
And while, yes, that's all I'm gonna say. Sometimes if you
Well,
can't say
there's
something
plenty of
nice,
people who, there's
sometimes you
plenty of
can't
people.
say something nice, don't say none at all.
Oh, sometimes I know you from Chicago, but sometimes I be wondering if you're really from the South. That's
Well,
some
I got that
Southern
Mississippi
hospitality.
heritage. Mississippi
Well,
heritage.
Mississippi, here in the
Mississippi.
great state of Mississippi.
Am I quicker letter? Yes.
All right, here we go. Oh, we're going to the celebration cards now. Now we're
Okay.
going.
Okay. We need to
Uh,
celebrate. It's time.
yes, yes. Choose a player. That's you, and share. And share. What I think I've learned about you is blank. What I think I've learned about you is blank.
What I think I've learned about you,
Yes.
something I've always known, you have a very good heart. You care deeply about people and you are a connector of people.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I try. Sometimes I don't feel always very confident about it, but I work at it, and so I appreciate you noticing. One of the things that I've known about you, but I love hearing about it more as we've talked on our show, Riffing While Black, is how much you love being a mom to your parent, to your kids, and how real you keep it. And the
Oh,
stories
right.
you
Love
tell.
is a strong word. I mean, I love them. I love them.
But I hear the love in your voice and the humor and the admiration you have for your children, and it just shows. And I'll be honest, and you do it with wit, you do it with smarts and humor and realness. You know, you keep it real all the time, and so I really appreciate that about you. So thank you.
Thanks. Well, don't ask them what they think because you might get another story.
I'll ask them when they turn like 35 to see what they
Well,
say.
I
But
have one question before we go. Maybe you could explain because you already raised yours. How come my sons don't brush their teeth or will brush their teeth without toothpaste or will put some toothpaste on the tongue so their breath smells like they're brushing their teeth, but they didn't actually brush them? Do you help me understand?
yeah, my this is my theory. They have
Okay.
not run into because what you're looking for is an internal motivation to brush their own teeth, right? Because they'll be like, "Oh, my breath's funky. Let me
Yeah.
clean it." But they don't care. They really like it's not that bad. That's what they're thinking. And so they need not just internal motivation, but also external motivation. And I'm gonna tell you right now, I didn't always consistently brush my teeth. I was being lazy, to be honest. But when some girl tried to show me a little something something, I think it
Okay.
may have been I don't know high school or something like that. This girl said,
I gotta wait
"Hey."
till high school? Good Lord.
Well, I wasn't trying to holler at them little things. They get on my nerves. But high school, it
Oh,
was different. And she said, "Hey," I was like, "Hey," and then I noticed my breath was kind of funky because I was trying to talk to her. Next day, I was.
okay. Well, you know what? I guess I got a couple more years to wait, so I'll keep you posted.
I mean, it works.
Okay. It's always
Boy,
good to
girl,
see
whatever they might be interested in, you know. But hey, Kathy, Dr. Helm, it is so good to see you and so good to talk to
always good to
you.
see you too.
Well, here we are, riffing while black.
Riffing on what? Riffing. So
See you
we'll
next
riff
time.
next week. Okay. Bye-bye.
All right, then. Take care.
Bye-bye.